I got a really good question after I shared yesterday's 100-day training from one of my students. And it was about the teacups exercise, or one hand leads the whole body, from Lohan palm. Now, I didn't really go into it in the video, so I figured that I might just make a video about it. Because it's actually a really common movement between, it's not that common. It's a movement that you will see commonalities between different arts. Mainly you're going to see it in Bagwajang as well as in Lohan. There's a few others. Anyway, so one hand leads the body. In Lohan palm is generally started by being done seated. I'm just trying to find a space on my walk here. I can put the camera down. It's generally done seated. And when seated, that takes the dantian completely out of the equation. Simply meaning that everything's going to have to be moved by the center of the body. Yeah, it's going to be a bad video maybe, but we'll see. So, if everything's moved by the center of the body, that means Tanjong, the center of my chest. So if I was seated and doing my Lohan, my pelvis would be on the floor, so it's now stuck and I should be rooting through my ischial bones. My sitting bones, I should be really sitting tall like the monkey, okay? So I've aligned my spine exactly as though I was standing, and I'm trying to make my roots, instead of being through my legs, through my ischial bones directly. So you don't want to have it too far back, so your pelvis tilted too far forward and you're kind of on your butt, or too far forward with a big arch in your back. That's going to destroy the root if you're seated, okay? And it's important, because it's Qigong, it's about relationships. So, now, once this is all frozen, so pretend I'm sitting, the hand, I'm pushing at it with my heart, okay? We talked about that. So I'm just going to review that quickly. If I turn to my right, where my finger is where my heart is pointing, it will kind of push my arm around. What I'm doing is I'm maintaining a particular relationship between where my heart points and where my palm is. Okay, so I cannot talk there. I'm still pointing at it, right? If to get it over my head, I may need to roll back. I may need to make my entire body move in order to accommodate the movement I want to see in my hand. I don't want to see any hitches, shoulders coming out of joints, stuff like that, right? So I'm trying to maintain a series of relationships in my joints in my arm, and a relationship between my heart and my palm, and the relationship of movement of the arm and the body is the same. No, I guess it's really not. I haven't talked about that on video before. Yeah. Okay, I didn't think about that. I haven't talked about that part of Lohan on video. Okay, so normally in martial arts, a small movement here, right, in dantian, is projected out into a larger movement on the arms, okay? So small becomes big. In Lohan, there's also big becoming small, which means that a big movement on the body becomes a small movement on the hand, okay? That's the easiest way to kind of think about it. So if the hand movement's big, the body movement is small. If the body movement is big, the hand movement can be small, right? Because I can adjust everything that I'm doing when I do this. So what that does, one hand leads the whole body. That's why it's called this, right? So my hand is forcing my body through this large motion, right? Because of that relationship. That's going to get everything in the torso at work. That's the idea. So now my flanks are moving up and down, contracting and releasing. I'm rolling dantian back, forth, left, right, middle dantian, right? And that essentially is massaging down towards lower dantian. So it's got all kinds of good health benefits. It's going to push blood through the organs, just like any other kind of organ massage. And it's simple. You teach people one move. That's it. The thing is that the question I got was, where's my intention? What should I be doing here? What's the reality of this? So the reality is that theory. I must make the movement of the body larger than the movement of the hand. Okay, that's the one side of it. and I must make the movement of the hand larger than the movement of the body. So I have to train both yin and yang. Okay? So again, back to normal martial arts. A small movement creates a large movement. I'm going to exaggerate it. It's like a whip now. Right? But the movement at Dantian is very small. The pushing and pulling here is small compared to what it does on my hand. So, large body with a small hand, I need my hand still to go from here to here. I can do that without moving my body at all. It means there's no internal connection. Or I can push it with my heart. Or I can try to pull it with Dantian. So this is the actual intention, is we're going to change pushing to pulling. So in order to pull this hand back through where my gourd is, instead of pushing it, when I'm pushing it, I'm thinking of this like a stick. Hey, look at that, a stick. I'm thinking of this as a stick, right? And I'm attached to it. So when I try to push this back through that place, right, Tanjong is pushing it around, okay? When I think of it as a rope, it changes the game. This is the thing for Lohan. I'm not pushing my arm now. You see that? So this means I need a big body motion. So if my Dantian begins to turn right, I can feel the rope pulling on my hand, and it wants to pull my hand into my torso, right? Because as the rope gets pulled tighter and tighter, it's going to pull it to my body. I'm not allowed to touch my body in this movement though. So that means that as I pull, I have to also make the body movement larger and larger in order to actually avoid making that mistake. Now, the momentum has carried me through, and I begin to pull again rather than push. So I pull, this would be a rope around the other direction, right? This rope would be this way around my body, and I would pull around. This rope would be this way around my body, and I'd pull around. You see what I'm looking at, right? All of these movements are not pushes, they're always a pull from the other side. Hopefully that makes some sense. Hopefully that makes some sense. It's a tough one to learn in person, but yeah, one of the biggest things in Lohan is that everything is essentially pulling. Dantian doesn't push anything. Anyway, hopefully that rambling answers the question. The intention should be clear which of those two yin-yang things I'm doing. Am I practicing pushing my hand, thus small movement in the body means large movement in the hand? Or am I practicing the opposite of that? Small movement in the hand equals a large movement in the body. Other than that, it can also be used as a double exercise, meaning it can be paired, okay? So in Bagua, for instance, they'll start doing two hands at once, or one hand forward and one hand backward, right? This is a pain to learn. Now, so I showed this stuff to Sifu Chen, right, at the time, and he says, oh, there's like an advanced one, and it's called lotus palm. So I put the heels of my hands together. There's my lotus flower, okay? And I'm going to rotate them, turn them, rotate them the other way, and turn them back up. So now, I'm going to do this super mechanically at first, because this I've found hard to teach. Okay? So you see, I'm just making really large turns in the wrists. Okay, so now watch what happens when I soften that. I'm doing the same movement. Okay? Now all I'm doing is I'm letting them roll around each other. Exactly the same movement. So this is the lotus palm technique, okay, that Sifu showed me. So it can be up and down any number of times and in any direction, it doesn't matter. That's just the physicality though. So the reality of this is that I'm sitting, usually not standing, and I'm reaching through my fingertips, each of them individually, and the head individually upwards, okay? When the lotus begins moving, my intention in my head remains the same, but my fingertip intention is like laser beams. So it's up, it's forward, it's towards the tree, it's towards the camera, right? It's towards the ground. And I want that feeling. So I want that feeling like I'm carving a hole in the sky. carving the trees, carving a well below me, carving the trees, carving a hole in the sky, right? That's the feeling. So it can't be this. This is nothing. This is a coordination exercise. This is keeping your mind in two places at once. I have to maintain Bai Hui and my upward intention while I maintain my root, obviously, because those two are related. And then with the intention of reaching through the fingertips, even though there's no outward movement, there's only intention through the fingers. That's what leads us towards the golden lotus meditation near the end of the training in Lohan. Hopefully this helps. All right.